The house was quiet. Too quiet. 6-month-old Ellie lay in her crib, eyes wide open, not crying, not moving. She hadn't moved her legs since the day she was born. Doctors called it a birth injury. Ava called it her worst nightmare. Mark stood by the door, soaked from the rain. "I found him by the dumpsters," he said softly. He was shivering. "I couldn't just leave him." Ava looked up from the couch, her face pale and tired. "Mark, we already have enough going on. We have Ellie." But the puppy in his arms didn't whimper or bark. He just stared. One ear hung lower than the other, and his fur was dirty and thin. Still, there was something in his eyes, something strange, like he knew hurt, like he understood it. Ellie let out a faint sound. Ava rushed to her side, but she was just shifting her arms weakly. Nothing unusual. Mark set the puppy down. "Come on, little guy. Let's get you dried off." They named him Scout. Later that night, Scout refused to sleep in the bed they made for him. He paced in circles, glancing toward Ellie's crib. He scratched at her door, whining low. Mark groaned. What's wrong with him now? But Ava listened. She opened the door and let Scout in. "Fine. Just don't wake her," she whispered. Scout walked in slow, tail low, steps soft. He looked up at the crib and then curled right beside it on the floor. The room stayed quiet. Ellie's breathing grew deeper, and for the first time in nights, she didn't wake up crying. In the middle of the night, Ava peeked in. The lamp cast a soft glow over the crib. Scout was still there, sitting up now, eyes locked on Ellie. He looked like a little soldier on guard duty. The next morning, something even stranger happened. Ellie didn't cry when Scout barked. She actually smiled. A small, faint smile, but real. Ava leaned in. Did she just... Scout wagged his tail gently, walking over to Ellie's crib and pressing his nose against the bars. Ellie moved her fingers slightly. It was the tiniest twitch, but Ava saw it. "Her hand moved," she gasped. "Mark, come here!" Mark ran in, still brushing his teeth. "What is it?" She moved her hand. "I saw it, and she's looking at the puppy." Mark stepped closer, eyes wide. "Are you serious?" Ellie's hand opened again, just a little, and her fingers brushed the soft fur Scout had pushed through the bars. Mark knelt down. "No way. Is she trying to touch him?" Scout stayed still, not playful, not wild, just calm, patient. Ava whispered, "It's like he knows." That day, Scout didn't leave Ellie's side. He followed her from crib to changing table and back again. If she made a sound, he was there. Neighbors came by to meet the new puppy. Everyone said the same thing. There's something about his eyes. By evening, Scout had found a new spot, right under Ellie's crib. He refused to leave it. Mark tried calling him. "Come on, Scout, you can sleep in the living room." But Scout stayed. Ava brought him a blanket. "If you're staying here, you might as well be comfortable." She sat on the rocking chair, watching Ellie sleep peacefully. No stiffness, no tremors. Just rest. Scout's breathing matched Ellie's. Slow, soft. "Do you think he feels her pain?" Ava asked. Mark shrugged, but his eyes were full. Maybe he's been through something too. And maybe he just gets it. The rain started again. Outside. Inside that little room, something was different. It wasn't just a baby and a stray puppy. It was two broken souls finding each other. And in that silence, a miracle had already begun. Scout wouldn't leave the nursery. No matter how many times Mark called him or how many treats Ava offered, he stayed glued to the spot right under Ellie's crib. His ears twitched at every sound she made, and he didn't sleep, not even for a second. Ava leaned on the doorframe, arms crossed. "Mark, it's like he knows something. Look at him." Mark sighed. "He's a dog, Ava. He's just being loyal, I guess." But Ava wasn't convinced. The house had gone still, but inside the nursery, something quiet was happening. Ellie stirred. Her little legs, normally lifeless, twitched, barely, like a whisper. Scout's head shot up. He stood, circled once, and let out a low whimper, not loud, but deep, from his chest. Ava stepped in, eyes wide. Did she move again? Mark followed, rubbing his eyes. It's probably nothing. Reflexes, maybe. But Scout didn't move. His eyes from Ellie. He was watching her every breath. Around midnight, Ellie let out a soft cry. Not loud, just discomfort. Before Ava could reach her, Scout stood up and gently pressed his nose against the side of the crib. Ellie quieted. Just like that, Ava whispered. Did he just calm her? Scout laid back down, eyes open. He didn't sleep. He just watched. Hours passed, and the house stayed silent except for the soft patter of rain outside. Every time Ellie shifted, Scout would twitch. A tiny growl, a whimper. Never loud, always soft. Protective. At 3 a.m., Ellie let out a sharp cry. Ava jolted awake. Scout was already on his paws, pacing in circles beneath the crib. Mark rushed in. What happened? Is she okay? Ava bent down and picked Ellie up. She wasn't hurt, but she was wide-eyed and staring at Scout. Look at her face, Ava said. She's not scared. She's focused, like she's waiting for him. Scout stood on his hind legs, trying to get closer. Ellie reached her hand toward him again, just like the night before. She wants him near, Ava whispered. She feels safe with him. Mark scratched his head. I've never seen anything like this. They let Scout lie beside the crib. Again. Within minutes, Ellie calmed. Her breathing slowed. Her eyelids fluttered. She's asleep, Ava breathed. Mark shook his head in disbelief. That dog's magic or something. Scout finally closed his eyes. But even asleep, his body stayed tense. He twitched every time Ellie did, like he was on alert, guarding her from something they couldn't see. By morning, Ava hadn't slept. She sat in the rocking chair, watching them both. I feel like he knows her better than we do, she whispered. Mark handed her a cup of coffee. Maybe they're both broken, and that's why they understand each other. Scout finally stretched and stood, tail wagging gently. He nudged Ava's leg and then walked over to the crib, resting his chin on the edge. Ellie woke slowly. No crying, just blinking and smiling. The second time in 2 days. She never smiles in the morning, Ava said. Scout wagged his tail harder. That day, Ava tried to keep Scout in the living room while she changed Ellie. But the moment the nursery door shut, Scout whined and pawed at it like something was wrong. All right, she said, opening the door. Scout rushed in and sat down beside the changing table, as if checking on Ellie himself. Later, when Ava laid Ellie on the mat for her daily physical therapy, Scout sat inches away. He watched every motion, every stretch, every tear. When Ellie started fussing, he gave a low whimper, crawled over, and licked her hand. She quieted again. Ava's voice broke. He's not just here for comfort. He's trying to help her. Mark knelt beside him. You've got a job, huh, boy? Scout just stared at Ellie, ears perked. That night, Scout returned to his post. And again, he didn't sleep. In the dark, his eyes glowed faintly from the hallway light. It wasn't just loyalty. It was deeper. As if Scout knew that Ellie was holding on by threads. And if those threads broke, he'd catch them. Whatever he was sensing, it was real. Because that night, Ellie's monitor beeped, and Scout was the first one to hear it. The monitor had just calmed down. Scout had paced all night, but now, in the quiet of the afternoon, Ellie was napping peacefully in her crib. Ava sat nearby, sipping lukewarm tea, too tired to even think. She glanced up, then froze. Ellie's hand twitched, just her fingers. Small, soft, but it was real. Ava blinked, holding her breath, afraid to move in case it stopped. Then it happened again. Oh my God, she whispered. Mark! Mark ran in, heart racing. What? What is it? Ava couldn't stop staring. Her fingers. She moved them. I saw it. Mark leaned over, eyes wide. You sure it wasn't just a spasm? But Ava shook her head. No, it was different. It felt like her. And right then, Scout climbed up and gently placed his nose on Ellie's hand. He licked her fingers, slow and soft, then nudged them again. Ellie's hand twitched once more. Mark looked stunned. Is he doing that? Is he making her move? Ava's voice cracked. I don't know, but look at him. He's not just being cute. He knows something. Scout gently nuzzled her again, as if asking Ellie to try one more time. Ava leaned closer, whispering, Was that you, baby girl? Are you waking up inside? Tears rolled down her cheeks as she kissed Ellie's hand. The room stayed still. Ava didn't call the doctor. Not yet. She didn't want to hear coincidence or reflex. She wanted this moment to be real. Just for them. Scout laid down, one paw reaching under the crib, touching the side gently, like he didn't want to leave her. Later that day, Mark sat on the couch, holding Ellie. She was more alert now. Not just blinking, looking around. Then she did it. She smiled. Not the twitch of lips babies sometimes do. A full smile, eyes lit up, cheeks lifted. She was smiling at Scout. Ava gasped. "Did you see that?" Mark nodded, stunned. She smiled at him. Scout wagged his tail and barked once, softly. Ellie's arms moved, slowly, wobbly, but her hand reached toward Scout. She was reaching. Ava covered her mouth with her hands. She's reaching for him. Scout stepped closer, and Ellie's fingers brushed his fur. She held on, weak but firm. Mark's voice was barely a whisper. "She's not supposed to be able to do that." They didn't speak for a moment, just stared. It wasn't random. It wasn't by chance. Scout had been doing something, triggering something. Later that evening, Ava sat in the nursery, Ellie in her lap. Scout lay nearby, head on his paws, watching them like always. Ava leaned down, whispering to Ellie, "You like your pup, huh?" Ellie gurgled, then laughed. A real sound, light and full of life. Scout perked up and trotted over. "Okay." Ava smiled. "You can come say hi." Scout licked Ellie's cheek gently and Ellie giggled. It was soft, but it shook Ava to her core. She looked at Mark through tears. I've never heard her laugh before. Mark crouched beside them. Me either. They stayed like that, quiet, wrapped in something they couldn't explain. The next morning, Ava recorded Ellie's hand moving again. Not a twitch this time. She reached up when Scout entered the room. The doctors had said she might never move her limbs. But now, she was reacting, feeling, connecting. Scout didn't act like a pet anymore. He acted like he had a mission. When Ellie cried, he was there. When Ellie smiled, he wagged his tail. When Ellie fell asleep, he stood guard. Mark sat at the kitchen table, shaking his head. "I don't get it. Is it possible? Can a dog wake something?" "Up inside her," Ava whispered. "Maybe love can." That night, Ava gently rocked Ellie in the nursery. Scout was curled beside her crib. Ellie was calm, like always when he was near. "I don't know what you're doing," Ava whispered to Scout. "But don't stop." He looked up at her, then laid his head down again. A soft wind blew outside, and Ellie stirred. But this time, she didn't cry. Her hand moved again, slow, but reaching, straight toward Scout, and Scout was already waiting. Scout was already beside Ellie when Ava kissed her goodnight. He didn't want to leave her side anymore. But that night, something strange happened. It was around 2 a.m. when Ava woke up, heart pounding. The baby monitor had made a weird clicking sound. She grabbed her phone and pulled up the camera, and what she saw made her sit straight up. Scout wasn't just lying next to the crib. He was inside it. Somehow the little dog had jumped in all by himself. "What in the world?" Ava whispered. Scout wasn't sleeping. He was gently nudging Ellie's legs with his nose. Slowly, carefully, almost like he was pushing them. Ava leaned closer to the screen. Ellie's arms moved slightly. Scout paused, then nudged her leg again. Ellie giggled, not once, but twice. Mark rubbed his eyes and sat up. "What's going on?" Ava showed him the screen. He climbed in. "Look, he's pressing on her legs, and she's moving." Mark watched in silence. "He's not just playing." "No," Ava whispered. "He's trying to help." Scout placed his paw on Ellie's belly, then softly barked. It wasn't loud, more like a little cheer. Ellie laughed again and turned her head toward him. Mark looked shocked. "How is he doing that? That's not normal." But Ava couldn't stop watching. It's like he knows exactly where to touch, like he's giving her therapy. Scout kept nudging, then resting, nudging again, like he had a rhythm. Ava recorded the whole thing, then stayed up the rest of the night just to see what else he'd do. By morning, she felt drained, but something inside her was lit. Hope. Later, she called the pediatrician. "You're not going to believe what I saw last night," she told him. Scout climbed into Ellie's crib and started nudging her legs. She moved. She laughed. "I think he's doing something." The doctor chuckled. That's adorable. But dogs don't give physical therapy, Ava. She frowned. But her legs moved. She reacted. I'm not making this up. Look, he said kindly, if it brings you comfort, that's wonderful. But it's not medical treatment. Ava hung up, frustrated. But then, that evening, something else happened. Ellie was on her playmat, lying still as usual. Scout walked over and lay beside her. He nudged her foot gently, then again. Suddenly her toes moved, one by one. Ava saw it with her own eyes. She gasped, fell to her knees, and whispered, "You did it, baby. You moved your toes." Scout wagged his tail and let out a tiny bark. Ava picked Ellie up, hugging her tightly. I told them. She sat down with her daughter and stared at the little pup who never left her side. You're not just some lost dog, she whispered to Scout. You were meant for her. You're doing something no one else could. That night, she left the crib open. Scout jumped in again. But this time, Ava left the camera off. She didn't want science or doubt to ruin it. She just listened to the little barks, the soft giggles, the quiet sounds of something impossible happening. And for the first time in a long time, she believed. Scout didn't jump into the crib that night. Ava waited, watching the monitor, just like she had the night before. But the crib stayed empty. No soft bark, no gentle nudges, nothing. At first, she thought maybe Scout had fallen asleep somewhere else. But when she walked into the hallway and called his name, she got no answer. Then she noticed it, the front gate. It was wide open. Scout? Ava's voice cracked. She ran outside barefoot. Her heart pounded in her chest. Scout! Scout! She screamed into the dark. Mark rushed out behind her. What's going on? He's gone, Ava gasped. The gate was open. He's gone, Mark. They both ran up and down the street, calling for him. Neighbors turned on porch lights. No one had seen him. Ellie started crying inside the house. But this time, it wasn't just a cry. It was a scream, sharp and full of pain. Ava ran back inside, scooped Ellie into her arms. It's okay, baby. We'll find him, I promise. But Ellie didn't stop. Her little body went stiff again. Her hands curled in tight. She whimpered like she couldn't breathe right. Mark stood by the door, eyes full of guilt. This is my fault. I was the last one outside. I should have checked the gate. Ava shook her head. It doesn't matter right now. We have to find him. For 2 full days, Scout didn't come home. Ava printed flyers. Mark searched shelters. Neighbors helped. But nothing. Ellie refused food. She barely slept. Every time they tried to feed her, she'd turn her head. Her face stayed pale. It felt like everything had broken again. Mark watched her and said, she was getting better. She really was. Ava sat beside Ellie's crib, eyes red. And now she's slipping back, like he took the light with him. Out there, somewhere in the cold rain, Scout limped down a wet road. His paw was bleeding. One leg dragged behind him. His fur was dirty and soaked. But he didn't stop. A truck had spooked him. He ran too fast, didn't see the ditch, twisted his leg, hit his side hard. But he kept going. He didn't know where exactly, just the direction his heart pulled him. Back, home, back to her. He stopped under a tree that night. His body was shaking. A sharp pain shot through his leg. Still, his eyes stayed open. In his head, he could hear her giggle. He could feel her small hands on his fur, so he stood up again, limped forward. Back at the house, Ellie's condition was getting worse. Mark said softly, should we take her to the hospital again? Ava stared at her daughter. What do I say to them? That she's dying because her dog left. Silence. Then Ellie let out the weakest sound. Scott. Ava leaned in. What, baby? Ellie blinked slowly. She opened her mouth. Scout. Tears filled Ava's eyes. He's coming back. He'll come back, sweetheart. She looked at Mark. He has to. That night, the rain didn't stop. Scout had no shelter. His paw was worse now. He limped slower. His ribs showed through his muddy coat. But then, he caught a smell. Faint, but familiar. Soap. Baby lotion. He turned toward it, limped faster. And then, hours later, just before dawn, Ava heard a soft scratch at the front door. She froze, ran to the window. Scout, covered in mud, shivering, barely standing. She opened the Door dropped to her knees. Scout, oh my God. He wagged his tail once, then collapsed. Mark ran for towels. Ava cradled the little dog, crying. You came back. You came back. She rushed him inside, laid him near the crib. Ellie opened her eyes, and for the first time in 2 days, she smiled. Scout, she whispered, and her fingers moved again. Scout lay limp beside the crib. His fur was soaked, his body cold, but his eyes, they opened when he heard her breathing. Ava's hands trembled as she laid a blanket over him. Stay with us, boy. Please, she whispered. Mark stood frozen behind her. How did he even make it back? I don't know, Ava choked out, brushing the mud off Scout's face. But he did. Somehow, he did. Scout let out a soft whimper. His paw twitched. Ava glanced at Ellie, still so still in her crib. Then something happened. Scout lifted his head, just barely. He reached his nose forward and pressed it gently against Ellie's hand, and Ellie moved. It wasn't much, just a small jerk. But then her fingers curled around Scout's wet fur. Ava gasped. Mark, did you see that? Mark stepped forward. Ellie. Scout nudged her again, his nose touching her cheek this time. And Ellie let out a sound, a soft giggle. Her eyes blinked open. Then suddenly, her legs kicked. Not once, but twice. Ava dropped to her knees. Oh my God. She moved. She really moved. Tears poured down her face. She kissed Ellie's tiny feet, then hugged Scout gently. Mark rushed to call the doctor. You need to come. Now. It's Ellie. Something's happening. The pediatrician arrived an hour later. Scout had been cleaned up just enough to rest, near Ellie, who was now looking around the room like she was waking from a long dream. The doctor examined her in silence. He asked Ellie to move her toes. She did. He touched her knees. She responded. This shouldn't be possible, he said, stunned. Ava stood there holding Scout's head gently in her lap. But it is, because of him. The doctor looked confused. You really think the dog did this? I don't think, Ava said. I know. Scout blinked slowly, still weak but alive. Ellie reached her hand through the crib bars again. Scout moved closer, letting her fingers graze his ear. She didn't eat. She didn't sleep. She was shutting down without him, Ava whispered. But now look at her. Ellie giggled again, the sound filling the quiet room like music. Mark sat beside them. This doesn't make sense. The doctor shook his head. No, it doesn't. But sometimes, it's not about science. Ava smiled through her tears. It's love. Pure love. They took Scout to the vet later that day. His paw was badly hurt. He'd lost weight. But the vet said he'd survive. He's got a strong heart, the vet said. Dogs don't usually make it far in that condition. But something pushed him. Something kept him going. Ava nodded. When Scout came back home, Ellie was waiting with a blanket beside her crib. She patted the floor softly, like inviting him to lay there. Scout walked in slowly, limping but wagging his tail. He curled up right beside her again, like he never left. Every day after that, Ellie got stronger. She ate more. She smiled more. Her legs moved again and again. The doctor still didn't believe it. Maybe it's delayed nerves waking up, one said. But Ava knew the truth. It wasn't medicine. It was him. It was the dog who loved a little girl more than his own safety. A dog who limped through storm and pain, just to come back, just to touch her hand one more time. And when he did, everything changed. Everything. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more emotional animal stories that show the true power of love, loyalty, and courage. And tell us in the comments, have you ever witnessed a bond this deep between an animal and a human? We'd love to hear your story.